After a family gathering, my bank account was drained to zero. My husband grinned. We all agreed. Your money belongs to us now. Trembling, I clutched my phone and said, "You stole from the wrong woman." They roared with laughter, until a deafening bang shook the door. It flew open, and 5 armed federal agents charged in with warrants. I stared at my phone screen in disbelief, my hands trembling so badly I nearly dropped it. The bathroom's fluorescent light seemed to intensify as the banking app displayed my balance. $0. Every account, checking, savings, investment, completely drained. My inheritance from grandma, my retirement savings, everything. Gone. I gripped the marble countertop to steady myself, heart hammering against my ribs. The sounds of laughter and clinking glasses from my husband's family dinner celebration seemed suddenly sinister through the bathroom door. Taking a deep breath, I stepped into the hallway and pulled my husband Michael into the kitchen, away from his family. "My accounts are empty," I whispered, showing him my phone. "Everything's gone." Instead of shock or concern, his lips curled into a smug grin. "We all agreed you didn't need that money," he said casually, as though discussing the weather. "It belongs to the family now." I felt ice replace the blood in my veins as his parents and siblings appeared behind him, forming a wall of smirking faces. "You stole from the wrong woman," I said quietly, clutching my phone. They roared with laughter, until a deafening bang shook the front door. It flew open with a crash, and 5 armed federal agents charged in, warrant papers in hand. They had no idea who they were dealing with. 3 years ago, I'd met Michael at a charity gala. He was charming, attentive, and seemed genuinely interested in my work as a financial fraud investigator, though I'd told him I worked in financial services to avoid the usual reactions. His family welcomed me warmly at first. His father, James, ran a successful investment firm with Michael and his brother Peter as partners. His mother, Eleanor, and sister Rebecca were always gracious, if a bit too interested in my financial situation. 6 months ago, my grandmother passed away, leaving me a substantial inheritance with specific conditions. The money would come in 3 installments and couldn't be touched by anyone but me. I'd mentioned this only once at a family dinner, noticing how everyone's attention sharpened. Around the same time, I'd begun noticing strange discrepancies in the family business financials that Michael occasionally brought home. Nothing concrete, just inconsistencies that triggered my professional instincts. Small things started happening. Michael suggesting we combine all our accounts to simplify things. My home office looking slightly disturbed when I returned from work trips. My laptop running slower after Eleanor borrowed it during a visit. I'd installed a hidden camera in my home office 3 months ago, not because I suspected theft, but because something felt off. My grandmother had always said, "Trust your instincts, but verify your suspicions." I never imagined her wisdom would save me from my own husband. Have you ever had that gut feeling something wasn't right with your money? That instinct that makes you double-check your accounts even when everything seems fine? Drop a comment about your experience. Sometimes those instincts are trying to tell us something important. The first red flag appeared when Michael installed a budgeting app on my phone to help us save for our future. He needed my banking passwords to sync our accounts properly. When I hesitated, he looked hurt. "Don't you trust me?" he asked, his voice soft but his eyes hard. I gave him limited access while creating new accounts he didn't know about, a precaution that seemed paranoid at the time. A month later, I noticed financial documents missing from our home safe, paperwork for my investment accounts, and the inheritance details. When confronted, Michael suggested I'd misplaced them. "You've been so scattered lately," he said, concern in his voice as he squeezed my shoulder. "Maybe you should see someone about your memory issues." I began keeping duplicate documents at my office. The third incident happened after a dinner with his parents. I received a notification about an unauthorized access attempt to my brokerage account. Someone had my username but failed the security questions. When I mentioned it to Michael, he dismissed it immediately. "Probably just a random hacking attempt," he said, without looking up from his phone. "Happens all the time." That night, I saw him texting his father frantically when he thought I was asleep. Each incident used a different approach: technology, physical theft, identity fraud. But the pattern was becoming clear. I began documenting everything while pretending to notice nothing. Tonight was James's 60th birthday celebration. The entire family gathered at their sprawling home, the dining room filled with expensive wine and forced laughter. James stood to offer a toast, crystal glass raised high. "To family prosperity," he announced, his eyes lingering meaningfully on Michael and Peter, "and to keeping what's ours in the family." Everyone clinked glasses as unease settled in my stomach. "Excuse me," I murmured, slipping away to the bathroom with my phone. I opened my banking app to check my accounts, something I'd been doing compulsively for weeks. The screen loaded and my heart stopped. Every account. My grandmother's inheritance, since all 3 installments somehow accessed and transferred. My retirement savings. Everything. My hands shook violently as I activated the recording app on my phone and slipped it into my pocket. Taking a deep breath, I returned to the dining room, my face carefully composed. I pulled Michael aside into the kitchen, showing him my empty accounts. "What happened to my money?" I asked, my voice barely controlled. His smile was triumphant. "We all agreed you didn't need that money," he said, not bothering to lower his voice. "It belongs to the family now." James and Eleanor appeared in the doorway, followed by Peter and Rebecca. "The family has investments that needed attention," James explained calmly. "Your inheritance came at the perfect time." "You should be grateful," Eleanor added. "The money is being put to good use instead of sitting in your accounts." "Besides," Rebecca said with a dismissive wave, "it's not like you earned it." They stood united against me, 5 smug faces showing no remorse for what they'd done. What would you do if your partner's entire family conspired to steal your inheritance? Would you confront them immediately or plan your response? Think about it for a moment, because what happened next changed everything. As I stood facing their united front, memories flashed through my mind with new clarity. James cornering me at Christmas, asking detailed questions about my banking institutions while refilling my wine glass repeatedly. Eleanor accidentally spilling coffee on my laptop, insisting on cleaning it herself and disappearing with it for over an hour. Michael photographing documents from my desk when he thought I was sleeping. Peter offering to upgrade our home computer system, spending hours alone with my devices. The pieces clicked together with sickening precision. This wasn't an impulsive theft. It was a coordinated operation planned over months. They'd been working together to gather my financial information, probably assuming I was too trusting or too stupid to notice. What they didn't know was that before meeting Michael, I'd spent 7 years investigating exactly this type of financial fraud. I recognized the patterns because I'd helped prosecute dozens of people for similar schemes. My shock transformed into cold calculation. I wasn't just a victim, I was exactly the wrong person to steal from. While the family returned to the dining room, I sent a text to my former colleague at the Financial Crimes Division. "Operation Inheritance is active." Family took the bait. All accounts drained exactly as predicted. Megan's response came immediately. "Recording everything?" "Yes. Getting final confessions now." "Agents on standby. Signal when ready. Evidence already collected is substantial." I took a deep breath, drawing strength from knowing I wasn't alone. For 3 months, I'd been documenting my suspicions, gathering evidence, and consulting with my former team. What the family didn't know, what even Michael didn't know, was that the Federal Financial Crimes Unit had been investigating James's firm for patterns of fraud and embezzlement for over a year. My relationship with Michael had started before the investigation began, but when victims started coming forward, my former colleagues connected the dots. The inheritance in my accounts contained tracked funds as part of a sting operation. Every transfer they'd made tonight was being monitored in real time. I straightened my shoulders and returned to the dining room, a different woman than the one who had left it minutes before. I took my seat at the table, my composure unsettling them. They'd expected tears, panic, or helpless anger. "Is everything okay?" Michael asked, false concern in his voice. "You seem to think stealing my inheritance is okay," I replied calmly. "I'm curious why." Michael's expression hardened. "It wasn't stealing. It was a simple account transfer between family members." $300,000 isn't simple, I countered. James leaned forward. "Listen carefully. Family takes care of its own problems internally. This money solved a temporary cash flow issue in the business. You'll benefit in the long run. After all we've done for you, Eleanor added, her voice dripping with manufactured hurt. Welcoming you into our family, including you in our lives. This is how you repay our generosity? By making accusations? Rebecca rolled her eyes. It's just money, not like anyone got hurt. Why are you being so dramatic? I took a sip of water, letting the silence stretch uncomfortably. The business is having cash flow problems, I asked innocently. That's interesting, considering the quarterly reports Michael brought home showed record profits. Peter's head snapped toward Michael. You brought reports home? They weren't the real numbers, Michael hissed. James's face flushed. That's enough. No, I don't think it is, I said. Let me guess. The firm has been misappropriating client funds for years. The record profits are on paper only. You needed my inheritance to cover withdrawals before the quarterly audit. The shocked silence confirmed my theory. How did you? Michael began. The Petersons' retirement account, I continued. The Winston's college fund. The Abernathy Foundation. How many others? James slammed his hand on the table. Who have you been talking to? Michael turned to his father, panic in his eyes. She doesn't know anything. She's bluffing. Am I? I asked. Then explain why federal authorities have been tracking unusual withdrawals from your client accounts for the past year. The family exchanged alarmed glances. You're making this up, Michael said, but his voice wavered. The money you took from me today, I said quietly. Did you really think my grandmother would leave her life savings without protection? Every dollar you transferred is being tracked right now. I placed my phone on the table, the recording app visibly running. I should introduce myself properly, I said. I'm not just Michael's wife. I'm Special Consultant Sarah Mitchell with the Federal Financial Crimes Task Force. The blood drained from their faces. That's not possible, Michael. The inheritance wasn't real, or rather, it wasn't just an inheritance. Those funds were part of an ongoing federal investigation into your family's investment firm. Every account you accessed was monitored. Every transfer you made tonight has been tracked and recorded. James lunged for my phone, but I snatched it away. Too late. Everything's already been uploaded to a secure server. You've been investigating us? Rebecca asked, her voice small. Not initially, I explained. I met Michael before any investigation began. But when clients of your firm started reporting missing funds, my former colleagues made the connection. I've been gathering evidence for months. I turned to Michael, whose face had crumpled in betrayal. The irony is, I actually loved you. I kept hoping my suspicions were wrong. Dad, what did you do with the money? Michael demanded, turning on his father. What we had to do, James snapped. The business was underwater. Your lifestyle doesn't pay for itself. You told me it was temporary, Peter accused. You said no one would find out. Don't act innocent, Eleanor hissed at her sons. You both knew exactly what was happening. As they turned on each other, I sent the text. Now, while the family devolved into accusations and blame, I calmly stood and walked to the front door. What are you doing? Michael called after me. Exactly what I was trained to do, I replied, unlocking the door. I turned to face them one last time. The funds you stole today triggered an automatic alert. Every transaction you made is documented. The recordings from tonight provide the final evidence needed for prosecution. Michael rushed toward me. Sarah, wait, we can fix this. I'll return the money. It's too late for that, I said. Federal agents have been monitoring this operation for months. They have records of client fund misappropriation dating back 3 years. You can't do this to us, James growled. We're your family. No, I corrected him. You're suspects in a federal financial crimes investigation, and you chose the wrong person to steal from. I opened the door to reveal 5 federal agents with warrant papers. Sarah, please, Michael begged, grabbing my arm. I did it for us, for our future. I removed his hand. No, you did it for yourself, and now you'll face the consequences. The agents entered with warrants for financial records, devices, and arrests for wire fraud and theft. James Wilson, you're under arrest for wire fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy, the lead agent announced. As agents handcuffed him, James turned to Michael. Call our lawyer. This is all a misunderstanding. Your lawyer is already being questioned, I informed him. He's been implicated in falsifying documents. Eleanor lunged toward me, her composed facade shattered. You scheming bitch! Do you have any idea who we are in this community? An agent stepped between us. Ma'am, please step back or you'll face additional charges. Michael stood frozen, watching his family being handcuffed one by one. Sarah, he whispered as an agent approached him. I never meant to hurt you. Save it for your testimony, I replied. The prosecutor is offering deals for cooperation. Your father stole from dozens of families. Some lost everything. I didn't know it was that bad, he claimed. I held up my phone. Your recorded confession says otherwise. As they were led away, Peter turned back. This isn't over. Actually, I said, it is. Have you ever had to stand your ground against people who underestimated you? There's a special kind of strength that comes from being underestimated and then setting boundaries when it matters most. Share your story in the comments. Sometimes our experiences can help others find their own courage. 6 months later, I sat in the federal courthouse, having just completed my testimony in the case against Wilson Investment Group. The evidence was overwhelming. James had been sentenced to 15 years for orchestrating the scheme that defrauded clients of over $12 million. Eleanor received 8 years for her role in laundering the money. Peter cooperated early and received 5 years with the possibility of parole. Rebecca, who had been less involved, received probation and community service. And Michael, my husband, had made a full confession in exchange for a reduced sentence of 7 years. His betrayal still ached, but the pain had dulled with time. The recovered funds had been returned to the victims, and I'd helped establish a foundation to support survivors of financial fraud. My experience had transformed me from investigator to advocate. I'd moved to a new home in a different city and returned to the financial crimes unit full-time. My new specialty, investigating fraud within family businesses. Therapy had helped me process the betrayal and recognize that Michael's manipulation hadn't been my failure. I'd built a stronger support network and learned to trust my instincts without reservation. Last week, I'd received my final divorce papers along with a letter from Michael. It sat unopened on my desk, his handwriting familiar on the envelope. Some questions don't need answers. Some chapters are better left closed. Today, I sit across from a woman whose husband and in-laws drained her accounts. Her hands tremble just like mine did that night. They made me feel crazy for suspecting them, she whispers. I slide a tissue box toward her. Trust your instincts, I tell her. They're trying to protect you. On my desk sits Michael's unopened letter from prison. Sometimes I wonder what excuses or apologies it contains. But as I help my client begin her journey toward justice, I take the letter and drop it into the shredder without breaking eye contact. Some people will never understand your worth until you show them exactly who you are. What would you do with the letter? Read it to find closure, or leave the past firmly behind? This story captures the emotional intensity and dramatic twists that define the Reddit family saga's niche. Let me know if you need any further adjustments or additional content.